I don't know about you, but I'm already counting down the hours until I see the Detroit Lions take the field for the first game of the 2025 season. I know it's still a few months away, but my blue Honolulu heart is beating restlessly, roaring even while I'm sleeping. My biggest wish this season is to see the Lions play in the Super Bowl on February 8th. If you really want that too, hit the like button hard. If possible, write something like this. Please, Dan Campbell, take us to Super Bowl 60. The Detroit Lions are less than a month away from hitting the practice field, with the first public practice locked in for July 26th. That's just 5 weeks away, and only 6 weeks separate us from the team's first preseason game. But the situation around the practice schedule has stirred up some unexpected controversy, and it's time to set the record straight. There's been a lot of chatter, especially from outlets like Detroit Jock City, claiming that the Lions made a clear mistake with their preseason schedule. Critics are pointing out that the team opted to skip the traditional structure of 3 OTA sessions and a mandatory minicamp. Instead, they gave players the green light to rest, recharge, and fully enjoy their summer, something many veterans undoubtedly welcomed. The reasoning? The Lions are scheduled to play in the Hall of Fame game, which means they report to camp earlier than most teams. It's a schedule shift that naturally impacts how off-season workouts are structured. While that might sound risky on the surface, the Lions organization is sticking by the strategy. And I'll tell you this, there's more to this story than just a calendar of dates. The schedule that went out includes only 10 public practice dates, but insiders know the truth. There are many more practices than that. Those 10 sessions are simply the ones open to fans. So don't worry, Detroit is grinding behind the scenes, preparing earlier than most, and keeping their strategy close to the vest. But here's where things get even more interesting. Brad Holmes, the architect behind much of the Lions' recent success, stirred some reactions when addressing what some see as a glaring hole on the roster, the defensive end position. When asked if the Lions still need to add another edge rusher, Holmes made a point to say, "I don't know if we necessarily do have to address it." That's a bold statement considering the questions surrounding depth behind star Aiden Hutchinson. The conversation around this position has intensified after veteran pass rusher Zadarius Smith made headlines at the BET Awards. Speaking alongside his girlfriend, Cash Dahl, Smith made it crystal clear he wants to be in Detroit. "Hopefully I can get back to Detroit because the coaching staff and everybody in the front office are great," Smith said. "When I'm there, I feel like a leader and like I can influence the young guys and do great things." Smith's comments reignited fan hopes that the Lions might bring him in for added firepower, but Holmes didn't bite. Instead, he focused on the progress being made by the current group. He praised Hutchinson's explosiveness, highlighted the strong performances of Marcus Davenport and Al-Quadin Muhammad, and even pointed out the potential of rookie Ahmed Hassan, calling him the most productive edge rusher in his class. According to Holmes, the team is betting on youth, chemistry, and continuity. But let's be real for a moment. As Lions fans, we know how crucial depth is, especially at key positions like defensive end. We've seen how quickly injuries can unravel a season. If Hutchinson were to miss time again, even the most optimistic outlook would take a major hit. No matter how promising Davenport or Muhammad look right now, the truth is simple. Hutch is the engine of this defense, and without him at full strength, the unit risks taking a serious step back.
It's a gamble, no doubt, but that's the nature of the NFL. Every team is a few key injuries away from watching their season implode, and Brad Holmes knows that. He's not ignoring the edge depth issue, he's just choosing a different path. He's betting that the current rotation, backed by health and a scheme that maximizes their abilities, will be enough. Is that a smart move? That's the question we need to be asking ourselves. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Lions should pursue Zadarius Smith, or are you confident in the current group of edge rushers holding it down through the 2025 campaign? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's pick up right where we left off, because this conversation is far from over. The question we're staring down as a fan base is one that speaks to the heart of what this team has become over the last few seasons. Do we trust the process, or do we demand reinforcement? Let's not forget, this is the same front office under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell that took the Lions from a 3-13-1 bottom dweller to a 12-5 powerhouse and all the way to the NFC Championship. This is a regime that doesn't panic. They don't move just to make noise. Every move is calculated, every risk considered. But that also means when they choose not to make a move, it's equally deliberate, and that's exactly where we find ourselves with the defensive end conversation. Holmes didn't just shrug off the topic. He redirected it. He pointed fans and media alike toward the strides of Aiden Hutchinson, who, let's be honest, might be the most important player on this defense. Before his injury, Hutchinson was playing like the best defensive end in the league. Now that he's healthy, all eyes are on whether he can return to that elite level. If he does, it's a game changer. If he doesn't, that's where the concern starts to set in. But Hutch isn't alone. The emergence of Marcus Davenport is another story worth keeping a close eye on. Holmes didn't just mention him in passing. He emphasized that Davenport has looked just as explosive as Hutchinson. That's not a small statement. It's one thing to say a guy is improving. It's another to put him in the same sentence as Hutchinson. Then there's Al-Quadin Muhammad, who's quietly gaining the trust of this coaching staff. According to Holmes, Muhammad played very solid football last season and is stepping into a bigger leadership role. That kind of veteran presence can't be overstated, especially when grooming a young, hungry unit. And perhaps the most intriguing part of this entire equation? Rookie edge rusher Ahmad Hassan. Holmes didn't sugarcoat it. He said Hassan had the most productive college career of all the edge rushers in this year's class. That's a bold claim, and it tells us a lot about why the front office didn't feel the need to go big in free agency or make a splash trade. They're betting on upside, they're betting on development, and most importantly, they're betting on their own evaluations. But let's not pretend like the concern isn't real. It is, because while everything sounds great on paper, Lions fans know how thin the margin of error can be. If Hutchinson misses any time, the entire defense takes a hit. If Davenport or Muhammad don't live up to the hype, or if Hassan isn't ready for NFL speed, the lack of depth could become glaring by mid-season. We've seen what happens when teams ride with a "we've got enough" mentality when injuries hit, and that enough turns into not nearly. That's why the idea of bringing back Zadarius Smith is so captivating. Smith wants to be in Detroit. He made that loud and clear in front of cameras, unprompted. And this isn't just a guy looking for a paycheck. He's talking about leadership, influence, and a desire to finish what he feels he started with this team. That matters. Chemistry matters, especially in a locker room like Detroit's that has become known for its culture shift. So why hasn't it happened yet? Maybe it's about the money. Maybe the front office wants to keep its cap space flexible in case injuries hit somewhere else. Maybe it's because Holmes genuinely believes in what he has. Or maybe it's a combination of all three. Regardless, the Lions are playing a high-stakes game with one of the most physically demanding positions in football, and fans are right to be watching closely. So the question is this: do the Lions roll with the guys they have and risk coming up short if injury strikes? Or do they make the move, bring in a veteran like Zadarius Smith, and build a rotation that can handle the grind of a 17-game season and a deep playoff run? Only time will tell. But make no mistake, the next few weeks are going to be critical. Keep your ears to the ground, because any hint of an injury or drop in performance could force the front office's hand. And with a team this close to glory, every decision could be the one that pushes us over the edge or holds us back. Smash that like button if you're ready for training camp, and don't forget to subscribe for more breaking updates. I've got my eyes and ears locked in on Allen Park, and as soon as something happens, you'll be the first to know. This is just the beginning. More news is coming down the pipeline, and it could hit any day now. Stay locked in, Lions fans.